Let's try this again, and for the record, from the top, we are taking off. Alright, as you may know, this is the Unscripted, an off-the-cuff sports show, albeit with quite a few major hiccups today. Be quiet, you. Now, we have a lot to get to and a short time to get to it. So let's get it done. We're gonna start again with the with week 10. We're gonna review week 10 in college football. Maybe. There we go. Review. We can rewind in college football. The week that was in college football. I do apologize for the lighting or lack thereof. It was a disaster getting home so late and then not having a chance to set it up and not having a lot of lighting. So, and then we're gonna preview this week's games, and hopefully we can fly through them real quick. So, looking at it, let me shed some light on what we got going on here. So we had UConn and Navy. I had Navy winning, so I got that right. I didn't get the score at all close. And then for some reason they just randomly mixed them up. Clemson and here we go. Clemson and Walford. I had that one right. I got that one right. Georgia and Florida. I had that in here somewhere. Here it is. I got that one wrong. I had Florida winning that one. Unfortunately, Georgia ended up winning. That didn't go to overtime. It was close. It was a 7-point game. I had 38-35, Florida in overtime. Let's see. And then USC, which may be on the other page. Oh, miss. This is really irritating because I had all, I think I got them all, And then there were a lot of games a lot of crappy games this week. Let's see. Alright, we'll just move on to the next one. Okay, so I had Michigan 45, Maryland 7. I almost got that one dead on, but I had Michigan winning, so that one was right. I do apologize for all the irritating things, because this was not like this last week. It was all now it's in completely different order. Shit. So irritating. So irritating. I do apologize because I had all the games and by how they were, and now it's all messed up. Son of a bitch. Is it in some kind of alphabetical order? Okay, there we go. I sort of got it now. And we'll start at the bottom, work our way back up to the top, and we'll figure it out. Alright, so now I have Fresno over Hawaii. I got that one right. Okay. New Mexico over Nevada. I got that one wrong, so that's a loss. Boise State, BYU. Oh, here's Oregon and SC. Okay, it was on the second page, so let me scroll back up and grab that one real quick. Good Lord, this is gonna take forever. You know what? We'll just hit the top 25. We'll go from there. That's the same thing. We'll just do the top 25. I'm not picking them all. It just takes way too long. We're already 3 minutes into a show that's half an hour late. Son of a bee. This really sucks because, I have so much going on. Copy that. Facebook. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, because it was fun going through them all, but it's just annoying because now it's in a completely different order and everything is all completely messed up, and Rutgers took care of it. So we're just gonna grab the top 25 this week. We're gonna pick the top 25 and maybe some highlight games. There's one game that I do want to pick, and one game that I want to talk about coming up this week. So let's go over. Instead of just going through it, let's just go over what we had happen. Looking at some of these games, there was a lot that happened. Miami did beat Florida State. I think I called that one. Colorado State won. Middle Tennessee lost. Air Force won. I had Air Force. North Texas beat UTEP. Interesting. Marshall over Rice. And that's one I did not see coming. I did not see Boston College going out there and stomping a mud hole on Syracuse's ass and walking it dry. That one caught me by surprise. They actually came out and balled hard. As one might be wanting to do. And yes, I will be getting to my power rankings, and I'll explain them all. And you don't have to like it, but these are my. See, I don't understand why it's not receiving enough. I turned down the buffer rate. And everything. Let me go check the output real quick. Yeah. It looks like it's all locked until, because you can't turn that down. But I did change the audio, so that should be good. But yeah, there were a lot of interesting games. Like Central put a beat down in Northern Illinois. Buffalo beat Eastern. UCF beat Houston. So and it's interesting. One game. So like I said, I'm just gonna take the top 25. And we're gonna look at that, and we're just gonna pick those games, and then I'm gonna pick, and maybe a handful of other, maybe some of the other prominent games. So what we're gonna do, and I do apologize, this is not how I had planned this to go. I had a much more smooth, this would have been easier. This would have been much easier if my day hadn't been shot all to shit by having to, do stuff and all that. But what I really did want to, one thing that I've been thinking. We did have a bit of breaking news this morning when I got up. Here. Perfect. Paste. And post. Alright, cool. So the as everyone knows, this show is an all-encompassing sports show. There was something that I wanted to. I know what it was. Chris Young, I believe is his name, has been slapped with the naughty finger, and has been suspended indefinitely and is going to miss at least the next 2 games. When he was caught, or when he confessed to receiving illegal donations, illegal loans by a booster who turned out to be a NFL whatchamacallit, an NFL something or other. There's a word for it. I cannot remember the name. Cannot remember the title. agent. He was an official NFL agent. So, like I said, we're just going to call off the top 25 because going through that was way too hard, and I just don't feel like trying to do it again. It took me like 45 minutes to get through all the games last week, so let's just pick week 11, the top 25, and then I am going to take, there's one non-top 25 game that I do want to talk about. So let's start at the top. We got Penn State and Minnesota. And I am going to take Minnesota. I know that's a bit of a risky gamble, but I like what I've seen from Minnesota. This is a real test of Minnesota's mettle. Can they step up? Can they step out? Can they get the job done? Let's see. So Minnesota 30, Penn State 21. And Penn State has shown some kinks in their armor, and they're definitely primed for a loss. Whether it was Pitt or who the heck else was it? They had played. There was another game that they had that was in the, aside from the Michigan game that was close, if I'm not mistaken. Did they? I don't think they played Notre Dame, but they've had a couple of other than including with Michigan. Michigan, Iowa was close. You know, they've rolled over the bad teams like you're expected to. You know, Pitt's actually a pretty good team. They have a decent record. They thumped Idaho. So, you know, and Idaho didn't get a touchdown until the fourth quarter, probably scrub time. So, you know, and they got to go on the road to Minnesota. Minnesota's 8-0 for the first time in like 50 years or something. So, they got to go on the road to Minnesota. And they got to take care of business. We'll see what happens. Because next week they've got Ohio State. Oh, no, next week they got Indiana. Then they get Ohio State and Rutgers to close the year out. So they got to go on the road to Ohio State and Rutgers to close, and then that should be a win. So 3 big games coming up. Huge test for Penn State this week against Minnesota. I like Minnesota. I think they can do well against Penn State. So we'll see what happens. Next up, and these are all noon kicks. I know I know there's like 400 games tomorrow afternoon, so you know, bear with me here. And I don't want to spend 45 minutes on just making my college picks. So, as you might know, even if you've been living under a rock, Chris Young was, as we already have been, as I've already alluded to, Chase Young, not Chris. I don't know where Chris came from. Oh, he only got a 1-game suspension. So he can earn from this week's following, accepting a loan from a family friend last year. So, you know, he's only going to get 1 game. Fantastic. Wow. That's fantastic. How old is this article? So that's okay. So he's just going to get a 1 game, going to get a slap on the wrist again, a game that doesn't matter. Fantastic. God, I hate Ohio State. You know, you play by the rules or you don't get to play. Period. So Ohio State can break the rules and nothing's going to happen to him. He gets a 1-game suspension. Fantastic. Good job, Ncaa. Then what's the point of even having the damn rules? Anyway, Ohio State rolls 54-0. Maryland has no chance. Vanderbilt versus Florida State. Moving on quickly and quietly because I'm just bent. I'd like to take Vandy in an upset, but I just don't see it happening. It'd be a fun one. If I got that one right, that'd be awesome, but I just don't see it. I am going to stay with Florida. I know I picked them last week. A much better opponent than Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's 2-7. So yeah, I'm gonna stay with Florida. I know they're a bit of a hype team, but I like them, and I think that Florida wins. I think Florida rolls, 38-7. Then East Carolina will travel on the road to Texas to take on Southern Methodist University. The Beast of the Southwest. Okay, no one calls them that. Don't mind me. I don't know what East Carolina's looking like this year. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh look. That'll work. Or maybe it won't. Yeah. Oof. They are not good. They are very not good. Yeah, so I'm going to stick with Shmoo. We're going to go with Shmoo, and I'm going to go 37-13. Next up, I've got Baylor and TCU. Baylor Bears ranked at 11. And TCU is unranked. I like TCU. Coming off a huge emotional win over Texas. Was it last week or the week before last? Open a new tab. Give me a tab. Come on. I'd love to take the Horned Frogs. I think they could be a tough opponent. They're 4-4. Need a win or two. Need 2 more wins to make the to make a bowl game. I knew if I knew English, it would help. It's tantalizing to take the Frogs. They did lose last week to Oklahoma State, but they beat Texas 2 weeks ago. It is tempting to take the Frogs in a big upset. It's a big upset. It would be a huge upset. What is the spread? And TCU is very good at home. Mm. 2.5. You know what? I am gonna take I'm gonna take TCU as an upset special. Take TCU, mark them down. TCU 27, Baylor 17. Bears win, Frogs win. Bears lose. Wake Forest and Virginia Tech could be a good game. Could be a very good game. Should be one to be, if I was hanging out, it'd be one I would check out. Definitely this. So that was your last. This is your next. This is your first 3:30 kick in the top 25. I like Virginia Tech. They've been sneaking up on some people. They almost knocked off Notre Dame last week. Really, probably should have. Yeah, they had the game won, and then they couldn't get a defensive stand. I like Va Tech to make a push. They need another win or two to get into the playoffs. Well, not the playoffs, but you know what I mean. Into a bowl to be bowl eligible. I think they're 3-6 right now, so they need a couple of wins, 3 wins. They're either 4-4, 3-6. They're 5-3. They just need a win. And they're good at home this year, so I like them to stay to stay competitive, get that 6th win, become bowl eligible. So I'm gonna take Virginia Tech, and I'm gonna say 34-27. Smidgen of a barn burner. Good game. Check it out. That's one of the ones I'm big on this week, seeing as Michigan's off. Then you got the biggest game of the week. Probably the biggest game of the regular season. You know it, we know it, they know it. It's Bama, it's LSU, it's in Tuscaloosa, it's at 3:30. Not necessarily a primetime game, but it is the biggest game of the week. You know you're gonna check it out. You know you're gonna be watching. You know what it is. You know who they are. They know no introduction. Now, in a bit of an aside, LSU's quarterback, Burrows, I believe this is how you pronounce his name. Don't quote me, don't hold it against me, LSU fans, please. He's out there, he's good. He's a real good quarterback. I like him a lot. I think he's only a junior, maybe even a freshman. But he came up lame this afternoon, with an apparent MCL injury. Lots to be, no need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I still like Burrows. Or I still like LSU by 3. I got LSU by 3. Especially if Tua plays. If Tua plays, it's gonna be a very, very close game. If Tua can go, yep, Tua will play against. Will Tua ankle sprain. I still like Alabama, or I still like LSU. I like LSU by 3, 30-27 in regulation. I don't think this game goes to overtime. 30-27, LSU. Like I've said, I've been lying on LSU for 3 all week. I'm feeling it. I'm really comfortable with that. You know, I just so if he goes, he goes. If he doesn't go, he doesn't go. It really doesn't matter. So just keep that in mind. If he doesn't go, I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think it's the end of the world if he doesn't go. I think there's a chance I think Alabama is very competitive against LSU, so don't freak out on me, Bama fans. But I do like the Tigers. So the next game on your schedule could be a fun game. It's K-State at Texas. I like the Longhorns in this one. Yeah, I know that they've had some struggles. They've had their ups and downs. And it's Texas by 7.5. Texas is getting 7, I should say. Yeah, I like Texas. 38-24. Just just a lot of fun. Should be a lot of fun. They're, it's saying a 57-point game, so it's a 7-point spread. I like it. I'm gonna roll with it. So your last 3:30 kick is Cincinnati. Don't worry, people. We're getting to the NFL here in just a second. We got some off-season baseball stuff to get to this week. Lots of football, lots of basketball, lots of basketball stuff to get to. Plus the picks and the review of last week. Don't worry, I'm getting there. So got a handful of more games to go over. Connecticut and Cincinnati in Cincy. I like Cincy. I'm not even going to look. I'm just going to take Cincinnati. 45-17. Connecticut is always terrible. Watch them win this week. All right. Iowa traveling on the road to Madison to take on the Badgers. We don't need no stinking Badgers. I like Taylor to get on the track, get back on track, push his name back out there. I like Taylor to have a big game against Iowa. Taylor rolls, Wisconsin rolls. Mark it down. Wisconsin 45, Iowa 23, Wisconsin big. The next game on our list is Missouri against Georgia. In what should not be a competitive game. Georgia should win going away, and I have them winning going away. I got them winning 45-28. Georgia wins big going away. Next up, not last but certainly least, Duke and Notre Dame. In Duke, Notre Dame wins big. A lot of big games, a lot of blowouts. 45-24. Notre Dame wins going away. Clemson and North Carolina State. Clemson and NC State. Clemson should roll, even though it's in North Carolina. It could be a weather game, could be a bad weather game. If it is a bad weather game, Clemson has had some struggles against bad weather. They've had struggles against teams that want to be competitive against them. North Carolina, the Tar Heels gave them a battle. Could have lost that game if Mac Brown hadn't gone for 2. But that's a whole other topic for a whole other time. And we'll discuss that, and we'll probably get into that at some other time when some coach makes the same or similar boneheaded move. So next we've got Clemson wins going away. Clemson 52, North Carolina 27. Okay, versus Iowa State. This could be a shocker. The world getting another shocker. Oklahoma could lose another one. I'm not willing to. It's very interesting. You always see these games. OU opens up at a 14.5 point favorite. But Iowa's not a bad team. And they've had some losses, but they could very easily be 6-2 with a win over Iowa. But that's and Hurts really needs, if Hurts wants to really get his name back in the team, he needs a big game against Iowa State. It's a primetime game over there on Fox. So, that's a team that I would look, this is a game that I'm going to keep an eye on, of course, because I'm going to be watching all these games, and, and we'll talk about them here in a minute. So let's get through this, and we're going to go, I am going to stick with Oklahoma. Oklahoma wins big. I'm going to take the 14.5 and give you 17. Oklahoma wins 38-21. Take Oklahoma and the points going away. In the last game of the night, this was the only top 25 team kicking off at 10:15. And the last game that we're going to discuss this week, because I don't have time to deal with anything else, Wyoming and Boise. We looked it up, not a state, Boise State. Boise State beats Wyoming 28-16. Take Boise State, take the points, have at it. Now, let's reach over and let's go to the NFL. Because I do have a lot to get through with the NFL. I did not have as good of a week as last week. And I forgot to pick the freaking Thursday night game for this week, last week. Ugh, I hate the Thursday night game because I always forget about the damn thing, and I can never remember to freaking pick it, and so I always forget to pick the week of the week 10 or the did I yeah okay so we need to go back to last week, and this one will be a lot easier to get through, and we'll run through this real quick, and then next week I'll have a much easier time doing the um making my picks. So my college picks, my college recap will be a lot easier next week. All right, so in week 10 or week 9 actually, I had San Francisco winning. It was closer than it should have been at the end. Arizona had some garbage time points that, and they got it close, but in the end they won. So I got that one right. I had Houston and Jacksonville. I had that game a lot closer than it ended up being. I had that one right. I had the Skins and Bills. I had the Bills 30, Skins 13, so fairly close. Fairly close to the actual score. Chalk that one up as a win. Unfortunately, the first game I got wrong, and not the last game I got wrong either. I had Minnesota beating Kansas City 27-24. They ended up losing 26 to 23. Close but no cigar. I had the Jets beating the Dolphins 16-10, and it didn't happen. They lost. Unfortunately, the Fins lose again. They lost by winning. That moves them down to 7-1, to 1-7. Lost again. Anyway, why can I scroll down? Thank you. Scroll down. I had the Eagles beating the Bears 24-17. 24-17. 22-14. Not fairly close, but correct game. One that shocked me and I did not see coming, but your Pittsburgh Steelers have made some noise for themselves. I did not see this coming. I liked the Colts. I was big on the Colts. I'm still big on the Colts. I think they could be a threat. If they make the playoffs, they could be a threat to do some damage. Same with your Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers won. Steelers won. Colts lost. Had that one wrong. In a very, very close score too. I actually nailed the winning team score. Panthers 30, Titans 20. I had a 30-13. Very close to the actual score. One that I got right for a change this week. Oy vey. I did not have as good of a week this week as I did last week. Next up, we got the Lions and the Raiders. Unfortunately, my Detroit Lions did not come out ahead. Unfortunately, yet again, another loss for the Lions. Close, late, couldn't get the job done in the waning seconds as time ran out. I don't know what to tell you, but the Lions are not ready to take the next step. They have a lot of work to do. Should have traded Stafford last year. Needed picks. Did not happen. Anywho. So, Lions lose. Another one I got wrong. I am tired of getting these things wrong. Seattle, Tampa Bay, in a much closer game than I expected. And I didn't have Seattle. Seattle is only a 4-point favorite. I'm not sure why. I had them by much more. Seattle is a much better team than Tampa Bay. But see, this is the thing I don't understand is when Tampa Bay, when I say, and we'll get into it when we get into the power rankings here. When I have Seattle, when I hear New England is X, because they haven't played anybody good, and the teams that they have beaten aren't good teams. But then you have a team like Seattle only squeaking by a team like Tampa Bay. And you're gonna tell me that somehow Seattle's better than New England because but Seattle, but New England's been blowing out these bad teams. They only had one against a very good game, Buffalo Bills team, and a very good Buffalo Bills team. New England has snuck. New England had a defensive stand to win the game, and Seattle had to go to overtime with Tampa Bay. Okay, so this is why I don't. This is what I don't understand. Just because you look good doesn't mean you are good. Cleveland and Denver. So Cleveland, I had Cleveland winning. Unfortunately, Cleveland could have won this game. Another winnable game that Cleveland pissed away. Cleveland loses. Denver wins again. So, chalk that one up as another loss and a very disappointing, in an incredibly disappointing week 10. We'll get into the last two games, and then we'll get into the power rankings, and we'll talk about why I have everything where I have them. And I'll explain to you people out there that don't understand, that don't get the logic, and I'll talk about everything, and I will say. And we'll get into that in just a second. Unfortunately, the biggest game of the week for me, the one that I had pegged as an uncertain win, and I didn't realize the odds makers had Green Bay as only a 4-point favorite. I figured they would have been at least a 10 or 12-point favorite. I had them winning by 10. I had them as a 10-point favorite. The Packers lose to the Chargers in LA, and in such a conundrum. So, and then chalk that up as another loss. Then I had the most interesting matchup of the week and probably of the year so far. The Baltimore Ravens do take care of business at home against New England. They win 37-20 and 17 points. A nice healthy victory. Good on the Ravens. I don't think we really know too much about either team yet. In terms of sustainability, in terms of and long-term success. I think we got a lot to learn about both teams, and I'll explain why I have my power rankings the way I do, because of how the things played out and things that I like, things that I don't like. So again, another loss, and then I Cowboys and Giants. Cowboys won in a much more convincing fashion than I thought they would, and so in week 10, I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-7 for an even 500 record, which moves my totals to 38 and 16, which will move me down which will bring my total score down from 7.55 or 775 to 30. 38 plus 16 is 54. 38 divided by 54 to 703 on the year. 0.703, moving me down a little bit. Okay, now to get to everybody's favorite part and mine, to get everybody's favorite part of the part of the show that you always want to talk about, my power rankings, the unscripted official power rankings for week 10. At number 32, dropping one spot, even on their bye, was the Cincinnati Bengals. And we'll get into the picks before the end of the show. All right, because I want to get through this because my phone is dying. And I don't have a charging cord down here, and I don't feel like going and getting one because I'm freaking taking me forever to get this show going and get it started and everything. So we'll roll ahead to week 10, and we'll talk about week 10. And we'll go from there. So Cincinnati on their bye. Unfortunately, Cincinnati, you dropped one spot to 32. You are officially the worst team in the NFL as of now. Miami, congratulations. You lost. You were moved up one spot to 31. You're still a dumpster fire. A complete and utter garbage pile. Your one win doesn't do much to help you, unfortunately. really, it's a big loss at the end of the day, because you guys you really shouldn't have won this game. You put yourselves behind the 8 ball. Now you need Cincinnati to find a way to win a game, to put yourselves back in position to take over to take the number one overall pick. Atlanta, I believe, who's on the bye, if I'm not mistaken, last week. Yep, Atlanta, Cincinnati, LA, and New Orleans were all on the bye. You guys still stick at 31. Washington, you stick at 30 at 29. You're still terrible. The Giants are the one team that I said last week that was the most ready to take the next step, the most complete team in the NFL, in the bottom of the NFL right now, as I saw it. The Giants were the most complete team in the NFL right now. But you let me down, New York. You let me down. You lost to a cat. We all saw the memes. Given that, I just can't. I can't even, New York. You disappoint me. The Jets. You disappoint me as well, New York. You should have beat Miami, a team that's very beatable. You should have gotten confidence for your young starting quarterback. I know I was watching the game 2 weeks ago against New England before I had to call it a night. And, you've got to draw up plays that can give your young quarterbacks confidence. You've got to have a short passing and intermediate passing game, 10 to 12 yards in. So if you're running a play, if this is your field, you've got to maximize the middle of the field. You've got to max protect, leave it back in, run lots of crossing routes, lots of underneath routes, corners, lots of corner routes, lots of hooks, lots of slants, quick throws, get the ball out of his hand, build his confidence, get him in the game, get him in rhythm early, so that all he has to do is focus on throwing the ball. Keep the rushers in front of him, keep them off of him, give him time to throw to the open man, create mismatches, especially teams in the NFL now are playing a lot of off-man coverage, so you're going to have a lot of matchups where you can turn inside, outside on the corners, and boom, it's out, boom, it's out, boom, it's out. And you don't have a lot of time to think and overthink things and make bad throws. And I don't understand why New York isn't doing that with Sam Darnold. The young quarterback needs a lot of time, needs a lot of work. I was not high on him 2 years ago when they drafted him. I said he was going to be a bust. I didn't think he was going to succeed. I didn't think that Josh Allen was going to succeed. I didn't think that Josh Rosen was going to succeed. I didn't think that any of those young quarterbacks were going to succeed because they were all put in terrible situations under piss poorly managed teams with terrible head coaches or no head coaches, and coaches that are brand freaking new. And so New York, you did this to yourself. Baker Mayfield, another example. Another team. Moving on to 26, Cleveland. You stink. You're terrible. You are sellouts and you are hacks. Or whatever McAfee's kid says. I don't remember. I can never remember. Stooges. You are stooges and you are sellouts. Screw you, Cleveland. You stink. You're an embarrassment and a mockery of everything that the NFL is. Screw you, Cleveland. Screw you so hard. In a very winnable game against the down Denver team, you can't find a touchdown in the last 2 minutes? Come on. Are you an NFL team or you're a pretend team? You're a pretend team. Now get the fuck out of here. Moving on to Oakland. You surprised me. You impressed me. Good job. You actually managed to make some headway in my rankings after being down 2 weeks in a row. Good job, Cleveland. I know. Or Denver. Oklahoma. Ugh, good Lord. Oakland. Good job, Oakland. Oh, okay. Well, good to know. Alright, for next week's stream, I will have that in mind. I will keep that in mind. Anyway, Any Mahoozer, I just wanted to check and make sure I didn't have any comments or anything. So, moving on to Denver. Denver is at 24. Not really moving up, not really moving down. I'll lock you in there, Denver. I'm sorry. Beating Cleveland is not impressive, especially when the way Cleveland pissed the game away. 2 weeks ago, I had you as probably, a top 20 team, and, definitely with room to improve, and a lot of potential. I thought you were the best 2-4 team in the league right now. Unfortunately for you, you stink. At 23, I got Tampa Bay coming off a loss. They could, and this is very easily, 23, 24, 25. You can move them all around. You could put Oakland ahead of both Tampa Bay and Denver. Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay was impressive against a very good Seattle team. They gave Seattle everything they could handle. Could have won that game in overtime, but it's very rough. It's very tough. It's a rough and tumble NFL landscape. Arizona, you're coming in at 22, slipping a little bit. I know you had a little bit of a uphill battle against New Orleans. A lot of people had them very high. I got them at number 4. We're gonna check in on you and see New Orleans, and I'll explain why I have New Orleans where I have them when we get to them. Don't worry, I'm getting there. At 21, I got Chi-Town. You know what? I'm incredibly disappointed in you, Chicago. This was going to be your year. You were going to win the NFC North. The Packers were down. Minnesota's in disarray. Detroit stinks. And this was your year to win the NFC North. And what'd you do? You shit the bed. Why? Because you stink. And anyway, that being said, I really got nothing else to say about Chicago. You stink. You stink, you stink, you stink. All right. Next up, Tennessee at 20. I probably, they a little bit high, a little bit low. I'm very on Tennessee. Jacksonville, I got at 19. Like I said, another teams. They're so erratic. Now, Nick Foles is coming back this week. I thought he was on long term. I thought he was done for the year. I didn't realize he was coming back this week. So he'll be back this week for the week, week 10. Good luck to him. I hope he succeeds. I hope he does well. I've been rooting for him for a couple of years. I don't necessarily want to see him fail or succeed one way or the other. I just hope that he plays well and has a good day. Up next, you get a little brownie points for beating the Packers. Some people said it wasn't fair, but, you only play the games on your schedule. Green Bay cannot punch below its weight class. This should not have been honestly, I was embarrassed with how they played. They shouldn't have gone out to the West Coast and looked nearly as bad against the Chargers team that has had debacle after debacle after debacle, that lost to Detroit at home. Now, moving on to 17, the aforementioned Detroit Lions, coincidentally, of course. Detroit, you were poised to make a move. And what'd you do? You did the same old shit that you've done for the last 25 fucking years. You shit the bed. Another team that had every opportunity in front of them, and they did nothing. They did nothing. Nothing. They didn't decide to blow it up and start over and rebuild with a new cast of characters and a new front office and a new GM. No, we're going to keep the same retreads that we've been running out there for the last 2 years that haven't done any better with Matt Patricia as head coach. And we're going to keep running them out there, and we're going to keep doing the same things that we do every freaking year, and we don't get any new results. What do you expect to have happen? You have 3 of your best 4 receivers on the bench in the last play in the game that has to be a pass. You have no timeouts left. You're constantly you're blaming referees because you can't get your heads out of your own asses long enough to go down and score 1 fucking touchdown. Don't blame referees when you're incompetent. You lost the game to Kansas City by 4 points. You lost the Green Bay game by 1. You lost the Minnesota game by 14, 15, 16? I don't even remember how bad it was. It was ugly. It got ugly early. Late. It got ugly late, actually, I should say. And then you lose to Oakland. Oh, it's mind-numbing. It's mind-numbing. And you piss away a 17-point, 18-point lead to Arizona, a team that was not expected to be doing as well as they are. You're a trash fire, is what you are, Detroit. Figure it out. Moving on to LA, the Rams. They were on their bye this week, or last week, I should say. They were on their bye, and so not much movement for LA. Kind of just a kind of holding pattern. Now the biggest jump, and my most surprising team in the mid part of this season has to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hey, excuse me. I need a drink. Pittsburgh, you done did it. You've put it all together so far. You've got a great defense. You've got a solid offense. You've looked good. You know, in the last couple of weeks. You got a lucky, some might say it was a lucky win, but as far as I'm concerned in the NFL, there are no lucky wins. There we go. Oopsie, I closed out the wrong window. Had to find it again. Oh, I know what I needed. And then I closed out the wrong. Okay. So, moving up to 13, the Cowboys. I don't know who the Cowboys are. I don't trust them. They seem to beat the bad teams, can't beat the good teams. Sometimes they can't beat a bad team. Sometimes they can beat a good team. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they are. They're a conundrum. I don't trust them. I keep them at 13 this week. Moving up, they're not moving at all. Dallas and Philly, holding pattern. Even though they beat the Bears, to me it really wasn't an impressive win because of the fact that it is the Bears. The Bears have proven that they're not very good yet. So I really think that the jury's still out in Philadelphia and Dallas. We'll see what they are in the next 4 or 5 weeks. Buffalo, I should say Indianapolis. Unfortunately for you guys, you had some unfortunate circumstances to deal with. Teams in and around you winning, and your obvious loss. That hurts you. Buffalo was helped by winning and a couple of other teams losing or not winning as nearly as well, or we just being by the fact that they're there. And personal bias, I just like Indianapolis better than Dallas or Philly right now. And I think that their wins, I think that Dallas and Philadelphia's wins and Buffalo's win were kind of equal, and I just gave Buffalo the push. Now Buffalo's got to sustain. They got to go beat Cleveland in Cleveland as a road dog. So we'll see. Minnesota comes in at 9, and I think they've already had their bye. I'm not sure they get this week. Dallas on Sunday night. Should be a good one. So this is a real prove it week for Minnesota after losing to Kansas City. Can they come out? Can they beat the Cowboys? We'll see. Green Bay slips to 8 from 6. Mainly because of unfortunately for Green Bay, you lost, and you lost to a weak Kansas City, a weak Chargers team. You couldn't, you shouldn't have. They shouldn't have beat. They shouldn't have beat Detroit. I do hold that against them. So yes, I do hold that against you. Sorry, Green Bay. You shouldn't have beat Detroit. Kansas City. I don't know if Kansas City is for real or not, because without Mahomes, they got Matt Moore, who's played okay, but he hasn't played great. They played well against Minnesota, but they didn't play great against Minnesota. I just don't know what to do with you, Kansas City. So we're in a holding pattern in Kansas City, and they move up to 7, but we'll see. Houston, a very impressive win against Jacksonville. They knocked Gardner Minshew out of the starting lineup with Foles back and healthy. So we'll take it as it is. Seattle. Seattle stays at 5. Unfortunately for you guys, the teams in front of you are all equally or better than you right now, equally as good or not, if not better than you. And you struggled to win against a very mediocre to bad Buccaneers team. A Buccaneers team that you should have beaten and beaten outright and handily. You had to take them to overtime. All right, that's why you're 5. Now, I need to add an addendum to this list because I misunderstood something. I thought New Orleans was 7-2. I apologize. I thought New Orleans was 6-2 and had the same record as Baltimore. Now, that all being said, with that addendum out of the way, I'm going to defend New Orleans at 4. Okay? New Orleans is not the second best team in the league right now, because everything that was said about New England, about how they haven't beat a team worth a damn, they haven't played anybody good, you can say the exact same thing about New Orleans. Okay? You can say that they only have one signature win. They haven't played anybody really tough. They struggled against Dallas. They struggled against Jacksonville. They struggled against Houston. They've had to come back and win games late. Everything that you said about New England, you can say about New Orleans. So just shut up and deal with it. New Orleans is number 4. Number 3 is New England. New England falls to 3 because you can't be the number 1 team. Right, and New England still has a better record than all of these teams. Okay, New England technically, theoretically, could have stayed at 2, but I already had Baltimore at 4. So if all right, hold on, I want to take this. Give me 1 second. Yes. Yes. All right. Thank you. All right. Now that I know what that's all about, they've been calling me for 3 freaking weeks. So New England is at 3. New England could technically be number 2. It would not be unreasonable to have New England at number 2. They are 8-1. Now, they did take a 17-point loss to Baltimore. That is impressive if you ask me. Baltimore came out, they knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they executed. Baltimore had a game plan, had a game strategy, and they executed. They executed to a T. They did everything that they said they were going to do, and they did it right, and they executed. They executed. And they killed it. And, now there was a lot of pomps and circumstance about winning against New England in the regular season. It was a bit ridiculous, if you ask me, because this was merely a regular season win. It wasn't anything special. It was one game in the middle of the regular season. Yeah, of course, it knocked New England from the ranks of the unbeaten. It really put Baltimore on the map in my mind. But, there's a big but. The biggest but is I already had Baltimore 4. I had Baltimore ahead of Green Bay, ahead of Houston, ahead of Seattle, and and just behind New Orleans. I've been high on Baltimore from the beginning. Okay? I've had Baltimore up there. I'm sorry, but you can't beat the number 1 team in the league and be behind a team that didn't even play. Okay? Sorry, New Orleans. But you didn't play the game last week. Now, that's not your fault. It's just how the cookie crumbles. That's just how the schedule is made. So this week, you get to prove yourselves. Go out there, beat Atlanta. Beat Atlanta, and you got a shot at number 1. Okay? Now, at number 1, the only unbeaten left, the San Francisco 49ers. If you're a fan of this team, you'll know, and if you're a fan of this show, you'll know that I've been high on San Francisco since week 4-ish. When I started doing this damn thing. When I decided to start putting together a list, my power rankings. These are mine, okay? There's no artificial influence. I don't read anyone else's list. I don't look at anyone else's lists until after I put mine out. Normally they come out on Wednesday. This week was a little delayed. I had a lot of stuff going on this week outside of the show. I do apologize, but the list is out. It's on the Van Allen Sports Group. If you want to read it, you can take a look for it there yourself. If you want to see my thoughts, you'll have to come here and watch the show again. So that being said, that was attractive as shit, wasn't it? So San Francisco. So now the parts of what I was saying. I know a lot of people don't like the fact that I had New Orleans at 4. They think that's wrong. And they think that New Orleans should be number 2. And they want Baltimore at 4. But that's not fair to Baltimore or New England. If you're putting New Orleans ahead of New England, then you're devaluing their 8-0 start. And if you put Baltimore at 4, then you're saying beating the number 1 team in the league is meaningless. Essentially, it is. But regardless of that, what you're telling me is you just don't know. You just don't understand. The reason New Orleans is 4 and not 2 is because A, I didn't realize the record was 7-1, and B, they had a bye. Now, naturally they would have stayed number 3, but unfortunately, I don't think that they're better than New England. I really think this was a fluke. It was a one-off. Baltimore gets to ride the high and be number 2 for at least 1 week, if not 2, but New Orleans has a chance to capitalize on a Seattle victory. So if New Orleans wins, okay, so this is how if New Orleans and Seattle both win, New Orleans goes to 1.
Everybody needs somebody.
Shit, that was terrifying.
Everybody needs somebody.
That was creepy. Okay, be quiet. I don't need a strike on my stream. Thank you very much. All right. So Seattle will go to New Orleans will go to number 1. Baltimore will be 2. New England will be 3. Seattle will be 4. And San Francisco will be number 5 next week if that's how it all plays out. Now, unfortunately, Baltimore. This is probably how it's going to look like next week too, because Baltimore will be 7-2. New Orleans will be 8-1. I'm not moving Baltimore back down to 4 because that's how it's going to be. And Seattle will probably be number 8. But it all depends on how the week's games play out. New Orleans, Baltimore could lose. New Orleans could lose. Anybody could lose. And it's definitely one of those things that could happen. So, let's move on to the picks because that part of the show is over. So, on to your picks. Well, my picks. Starting with Detroit and Chicago in Chicago. The odds makers have Chicago as a 2.5-point favorite. I do like the Bears over Detroit. Do I like the Bears? I know I ragged the Bears. I ragged both teams pretty hard already. I don't know how to call this one. I'm gonna go Chicago 24, Detroit 22. Chicago wins. Baltimore and Cincinnati. You know what? It's an interesting game. It's a very interesting matchup. With Denver, Houston, Jacksonville, New England, and New England, Philadelphia, and Washington all on the byes this week. 6 teams on a bye, so that's 1, 2, 3 games. 3 games that are 3 games off your schedule for this week. Baltimore and Cleveland. Baltimore is a 10-point favorite. Baltimore should roll. I like Baltimore 30-10. Watch Baltimore. Now, it'll be justified, and you can laugh at me next week if Baltimore does lose. Then of course everything's off. Buffalo needs a win to keep pace with New England and Baltimore. They should get it over Cleveland. I know they're a road dog, but I don't like Cleveland. So let's take Buffalo. 21-17. Cleveland loses another one late. Kansas City traveling on the road to face Tennessee. Kansas City has a touchdown favorite. Yeah, I like Kansas City, even if Mahomes doesn't play. And Tennessee is in such disarray. This is one of those games where Kansas City could lose this game. Tennessee needs a win to keep pace in the wild card. This is a game where I could see Kansas City losing. I could see Tennessee winning. You know what? 24-21 Tennessee. I think Tennessee beats Kansas City. I know it's a long shot. I know it's a long shot, but it could be could be cold in Nashville. It's cold here right now. So we'll see. New Orleans and Atlanta. Oh, cool. Uh, my gut tells me to take Atlanta because this is the week where New Orleans loses a game that they should win because that's how this thing shakes out. My gut says Atlanta. My brain says New Orleans. No way, it's New Orleans. 28-17 New Orleans. But don't be surprised if Atlanta wins. NYG versus NYJ. Jets and Giants, with the Giants being a 3-point favorite on the road in their home stadium. Anyway, this is another one of these. These are all your 1:00 kicks. I like. Oh, cool. I don't like either team really. I like New York 20-17 in a sloppy, mismanaged, piss poorly played game. Arizona and Tampa Bay. Should be a fun one. This has a lot of implications, a lot of playoff implications for both teams. Tampa Bay, if they want to make a move and get back into the wild card hunt, they absolutely had to have this game. Same with Arizona. Both teams really, really need a win desperately. So I will take Arizona. Excuse me, my phone is vibrating. I will take Arizona. Even though it is a home game for Tampa Bay, I still like Arizona. They're building something there. Could be a good one. Should be a good one. So, yeah, I gotta go with Arizona. 22-18. Miami and Atlanta. Miami and Indy. Totally talk about MIA. You know, it's another one of those games where anything could happen, you know, where your gut tells you to go with Miami because it's one of those wacky weeks where something bad, you know, where bad things are happening. But you know what? You know, this is my brain. You know, with Indy being an 11.5 point favorite, I like the Dolphins to lose. I like Miami to I like Indianapolis to win. 20, 26 to 7. Carolina and Green Bay. Ooh, that's gonna be a fun one. On Fox in prime time. So. Oh, the other, yeah, Miami and Indy is the other 4 o'clock kick. Over on CBS, so some of you will get that game. Most likely nobody. Mainly Miami and Indianapolis will have that game, and everybody else will get the Carolina game. Carolina Green Bay, with Green Bay being a 5 point favorites in Green Bay. Could be cold, could be nasty, could be rain, could be snow, could be sleet, ice, all that good shit. I like Green Bay. I need McCaffrey to have a big day, though. I like Green Bay 29-28. I need McCaffrey to have a big day, though. So the Rams are taking on the Steelers. The Steelers. I like Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh 24 to 23. And I just big on the Steelers. I've been big on the Steelers since week 6 when they were 2-4. Now they're 4-4, and they got a chance to move over 500, and a chance to move closer to the wild card, even closer to the division. Especially if Cincinnati can steal one from the Baltimore, from the Ravens, from the Broncos. Figure that one out. So Minnesota, the nightcap on Sunday. Minnesota. Unfortunately, I did not get to pick because I completely forgot about the stupid Monday night game and the fact that our Thursday night game, because the fact that I do this show on Friday doesn't help anything. So Dallas and Minnesota, and of course, and I only want to pick one week at a time. Hopefully, there won't be a Thursday game next week. Any luck? Minnesota and Dallas. I like Minnesota. I've been, you know, I can't have them at 9 and not pick them. I know they don't open up as a road favorite, but they only open up as a road dog, 3-point dog. So I like Minnesota, 31-24. Bye-bye, Dallas. And in the Monday night cap, we got C taking on 9. So we got Seattle and San Francisco in a huge, huge game. Playoff implications, power ranking implications, a little bit of everything, honestly. Lots and lots to go over. You know, I don't know which team to go with, honestly. Because I need Russell Wilson to have a big day. I think Seattle wins 35-34. Both Garoppolo and Jimmy G go off. Or Garoppolo. Wilson and Wilson. Yes, Wilson and Garoppolo both go off. We're gonna roll ahead to next week and check the Thursday night game. And do we have a Thursday night game? Yes. It's Pittsburgh and Buffalo, Cleveland. Pittsburgh and Cleveland in week 11. Yeah, we'll do it here. And week 11. And I will take Pittsburgh, regardless of what happens today. And Cleveland. Regardless of what happens this weekend, I still like Pittsburgh. I don't know why they're opening up as road. I just don't know how anyone can have Cleveland as a favorite in any game. Pittsburgh 24, Cleveland 14. And of course, and if I need to, I'll add an addendum to that game on Monday or Tuesday. But I'll make sure to make an update and post it in the group. So now that that's out of the way and everything's been, I finished that out. I just want to talk a little bit of hockey and a little bit of basketball. So let's jump over to the NHL on Yahoo, and we'll just scores and schedule. Jeez. Buffalo. Let's just look at standings. Let's see the standings. Give me the standings after what, we're 2 weeks in now. We're about a month in, give or take. Boston leads the Atlantic with 11 wins, 2 losses, 2 overtime losses. No real surprise there. Detroit is at the bottom after 17 games with 4 wins, 12 losses, and 1 overtime loss. That's the thing, is you got to get more overtime losses. You got to turn regulation losses into overtime losses so you can score points. You got to, you can't be 8-1 in your last 10 games. You can't be on a 4-game losing streak. You can't have a negative 33 goals to differential and expect to be any good. Definitely on the Fire Blashill bandwagon. For who, I don't really know. I really don't know who can come in and right the ship. But they're just trash. Washington looks like they're the best team in hockey right now, or at least the best team in the East. So we'll jump over to the West. Yep, Washington is the best team in hockey, and Detroit is the worst team. Go figure. And we'll look at the wild card real quick. So a lot of hockey to be played. Only 17 games into the season for most. 17 to 15 games into the season for most teams. A lot of hockey to be played. So let's not get too carried away. It is still early. Boston, you look good, but Washington, you look good, but St. Louis was terrible at this time last year. Terrible. They were like, so Dallas, Chicago, Winnipeg, Anaheim. You're not out of it yet. You're still close. You're still within striking distance of your division. So just stay the course, and there's really no teams that are breaking away with it early, except for maybe Washington's really not breaking away with it because they're only 4 points ahead of the Islanders. So everybody's gonna have to play everybody again. And you got a lot of teams that, it's still early in the season. You got a lot of 9 and 10 win, 9 and 0 win their next 10 games, with Washington on a 5-game winning streak. That's 10 points. They were 7-2-3 at one point, so still a lot of hockey to be played. Definitely lots of stuff to still be decided. But now that we're a couple of weeks into the basketball season, let's jump over and look at their standings real quick and talk about them a little bit. And then I do want to get into the basketball or the baseball silly season. I do enjoy silly season. Too early to look at the playoffs. We're only 6 games in. So let's just look at the Eastern Conference standings right quick. Detroit's up early on Indiana. So the Boston looks like Boston's the best team in the NBA's Eastern Conference right now at 6-1. Again, we're 1 week into the season. Literally played 1 week worth of games. Cleveland, you look like Cleveland, New Orleans, Cleveland, Washington, Orlando. They look like they're the worst teams right now. Oh, New York being the worst team in the East. Anybody worse? Golden State is miserable. The Lakers are 6-0. Wow. And Clippers are 6-3. New Orleans is just a point. It's just percentage points better than New York, having played only one more, having lost one less game, having played one less game to lose. But New Orleans, you got a lot of time. You got some young stars you're building. Let's click over and look at the mock draft real quick. I know it's really early, but we'll go back to NHL and we'll look at their mock draft. So oh well, this isn't a really old pick. Okay, so that's from last year. They haven't updated that. So let's click back over. Let's go back to standings. Let's go over to the NHL real quick. We'll look at their score. I want to see if they have a mock draft for the NHL, if it's an updated draft, or if it's still the same one from last year. Oh, it doesn't look like they have one. Hokey pokey. They don't even have a mock draft available. So, let's look on the odds. What is the betting line? 1 point. Oh. And Detroit's only a goal and a half dog, though. I don't understand why Tampa Bay and Buffalo played a game in the afternoon. That was, to me, is random as hell. Excuse me 1 second while I plug my laptop in. So, bear with me. Ugh. Okay, that's plugged in there. Turn that on. Plug that in, turn that on, power that up, and away we go. And I have returned to the land of the talking to you people. Alright. So, and again, it's still very early in both league seasons. We're only a couple of weeks into the NHL season. Less than a week, just barely a week into the So, let's talk about the MLB silly season. Looks like Wilson Contreras may be available. Looks like Abreu is going to stay in Chicago with the White Sox. Rothschild is signed by the Padres. Ooh, wait a minute. I want to go back there real quick. Let me skip back one. Like I said, this show is totally off the cuff, completely unscripted, unedited. I'm not going to change anything. Everything I said will be here for posterity's sake. I did delete the video from the beginning of the stream from when I tried to do this earlier, and it didn't work. Oh, okay. I wanted to look at the. Okay, so that's what I wanted to look. 5 free agents who could reshuffle the White Sox offseason priorities. From earlier today, from NBC Chicago. Anthony Randone at third base. Although they don't need a third baseman, with Yoni McConnor transitioning to the hot corner. So again, I never liked that. I've never liked signing a guy you don't need for a position. If you have a guy in that position already, it just puts a lot of pressure on the guy that you do have. You know, if you really have to have his blessing to do that kind of thing, because if you don't, then you can really ruin your team chemistry. I have no idea where my Coke went. I'll do. I have no idea where my drink went now. Well, what the shit? No, there it is. Yay! I found my drink. Happy day. So unless you can move him, so Josh, another third baseman. I think Josh Donaldson already re-signed with the Braves, so he's not really going anywhere. Yasmin Grandal. You know, James McCann was a good pickup until the second half of the season, and then Zach Collins was disappointing. But he only had 102 plate appearances, so and I'm just Mike Moustakas. That would be an interesting signing. That would be an interesting signing if they could pick him up. And Howie Kendrick to play an infield. Even though he's kind of old, I don't know. If I was gonna pick up Kendrick, I would probably DH him. If I was gonna go get Kendrick, I would wanna primarily put him at a DH position for this season, and use him sparingly in the field when I needed to give a guy a day off. You know, and what I did want to talk about, because I know I don't talk a lot of baseball on this show, but I do like baseball, and I'm thinking I'm going to try and get into baseball this offseason. If I can get my foot to cooperate, if I can get my foot to relax where I can actually run, and during the day, I can most of the time. I can get my foot to flex enough where I can actually, move. It's my right foot. So if you have any, if you know a good foot doctor that you can get me in touch with, it wouldn't be willing to work pro bono. That'd be awesome. But anyway, with what I did want to talk about was the interesting signing of Carlos Beltran. I don't know if it's going to be a good fit. Unfortunately for Beltran, he goes into a dumpster fire. And that's very tough for a young manager, or especially a manager with no managerial experience. And this applies to all sports. I mean, not just, I'm going to do a quick Google search, and just bear with me. I'm going to see, has Carlos Beltran ever managed? And I know he's a younger guy in terms of, like being a manager. And so it'll be interesting to see if he's what he can do. I'm curious because I know he played it. He's only 42. He's very young. And we've seen this a trend in sports, getting younger as a Has Carlos Beltran ever managed? I don't think so. And I don't even know if he's coached anywhere. He was a great hitter. He was an incredible hitter. He was a switch hitter. He hit 400 home runs. He was. He had. He's an incredible player. He won a World Series title. Jeez. He was an incredible player. He had some incredible records. He's only, like I said, like I already said, he's only 42. He won't turn 43 until the start of next season. He played for almost 20 years. He played 20 years, 19 seasons. And he played for a handful of teams. He's not a bad player. He was a great player. He played for the Mets for 6 years. But I don't really know. I really don't know if he would be. He really doesn't. I don't see him having any kind of coaching experience or anything. I don't think he. Okay, so he did take an advisory role with the Yankees in December of 2018. So a year ago next month, he was with the Yankees. And they did good. They had an excellent year. So he was Rookie of the Year. He was a Silver Slugger. He won the Clemente Award. He was 1,500 runs, 1,500 RBIs, 1,000 extra base hits, 25 hits, 2,500 hits. Obviously, hit 25 hits. He was the first switch hitter to hit 300 home runs and steal 300 bases. He had the highest stealing percentage in baseball since 2000, minimum of 250 attempts. He's part of the 30 for 30 club. I mean, he's a great ball player. Unfortunately for Carlos Beltran, the fact of the matter is the Mets stink. Okay? And when you have a new manager coming into a situation like this, unfortunately for him, he has to he has a lot to do. He has a lot to do. And I don't know, I just don't know about the Mets. Especially with a guy with no managerial experience, with no coaching experience. He has to surround himself with a team of great coaches. So I don't know who the Mets have hired to help him be to be his manager, to be his pitching coach, to be his coaches. And 2 years outside of 2 years from making 2 years since making the playoffs. Staff. Okay, here we go. coordinators. Special instructor. Hitting coach Lamar Johnson. Run Romaric. I'm not recognizing any of these names. So, that's really going to be important to his short-term success. He's got a lot of the players, the coaches that are around him seem to be players that have so he's a coach in the minor leagues. A lot of old guys. Good Lord, this guy is old. Oh, he just passed away. Wow. Okay, never mind. He's gone, literally. So he's not available. So he does have Jacob deGrom. He has Robinson Cano. Guys Cespedes, and oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Tim Slater, Glenn Sherlock, Phil Regan. It'd be interesting to see what they can do. Unfortunately, he's got Syndergaard, he's got deGrom, two good pitchers. Wilson Ramos is a good catcher. There's stuff to build around. Wilson, huh? I didn't realize he was in New York. There's some pieces there that they can build around them, and we'll just have to see what happens in this offseason. They don't have a bench coach yet, so he'll have to hire a bench coach. And that'll be interesting. That'll be an interesting thing to see what happens with the Mets. I don't expect them to come out and knock anybody's socks off. So, really, for me, it would be really interesting. It's going to be an interesting season, to say the least, for the Mets going into the next year. And Nolan Ryan out in New York. Another stinking ad. Let's look at the ML, because I don't talk a lot of baseball on this show, but I do love baseball. MLB free agents 2019. Who's gonna be a free agent this year? As I can wrap this show, as we get into the last 20-25 minutes in the show. I talk a lot of football. I love football. I love hockey. I love sports. So who is the top? Here are the top 79. We're just gonna run through them real quick. 2020 class. The top 79 free agents available. And they have, if Tim Tebow can be healthy, he's also available to play. Garrett Cole at number 1, right-handed pitcher from the Astros. He's available. Anthony Rondon, third baseman from the Nationals. He's available. I don't think he'll go anywhere. Strasburg, I don't see him going anywhere. He'll probably stay in Washington. I believe Donald's going to sign with the Braves, so he probably won't be available. Come on. Come on, come on. Or not. Apparently, I'm not going to get to read the rest of the article. Come on, load, you you transistorizing tormentor. You know, that's definitely somebody that the Mets would like to go get is a Josh Donaldson. Um, Dang it! Now nothing's loading. Come on. I hate when it gets stuck like this. Well, bear with me. You're still here if you haven't showed up. Come on, come on. You know, there's a lot of there's some big names out there that could be in the offering for teams to go after. I don't know who it will be. Okay, are you gonna totally crash on me now? That'd be awesome. That's exactly what I needed to have happen. Come on. Come on, Yahoo. Because if Austin Riley is ready to go, you're gonna get younger, so it would be it makes sense for the Braves to let Donaldson go. Even in something like a sign and trade, that might not be a bad idea. But I don't know. Now Chrome is not wanting to load. I really don't see Strasburg going anywhere. I can see Cole moving on. There were some choice words between him and the Astros front office in the postseason, so I could definitely see him being gone. I should have just grabbed it here. Let me go ahead and go here and do this. Didi Gregorius is going to be available. Nick Castellanos is going to be available. Cole Hamels, Madison Bumgarner, he's older. Josh Donaldson is going to be available. Jose Abreu, Rick Porcello, Hyun Jin Ryu, Yasmin Grandal, Dallas Keuchel, Edwin and Carson Narcion. He's old. Che Cordosia, Mike Moustakas. Well, he's going to retire, so. I was enjoying reading that. Here we go. So, at 5, they got Zach Wheeler, who is a Met. He's 29. I definitely think the Mets should probably re-sign him. Nick Castellanos, who can play right field or third base. I like Castellanos. Probably should go get him. Bumgarner probably will stay in San Francisco. I don't see him leaving. Hoon Jin Roo is 33. He's a left-handed pitcher. Probably will stay in LA. Jose Abreu will probably stay in Chicago. Keuchel is available. I think the Braves would be smart to re-sign him. Grandal will probably stay in Milwaukee with the Brewers. Will Smith, he's available. Rick Porcello is available. Jake Orzonia is going to be available. He probably stays in Minnesota. Marcell Ozuna. He could stay in St. Louis. He could be available. Will Harris probably will sign somewhere. Gregorius will is available. He will get signed somewhere. Cole Hamels is going to be older. He's a left-handed pitcher coming out of Chicago with the Cubs. He'll be available. I don't know where he'll end up. Donald Hudson, a lot of older guys that are coming up now as we get into the 20s. Mike Moustakas is a... Are you seriously kidding me right now? I have to go off. And it just... Ugh. I don't know if I would take a shot on... him. Daniel Hudson, Mike Moustakas, Robinson Chiriz with an Astro. Yeah, probably be a bench guy. Brent Gardner will probably retire. Drew I can say his name. Parmesan. Another nice bullpen arm. Chris Martin getting a little bit up there. Jordan Lyles. I don't know. Rich Hill, he's old. So, Yasiel Puig, he'll probably still be there. He'll probably stay in Cleveland, but I don't know. Jonathan Schwoob probably will resign in Minnesota. Anna Wainwright will probably retire. Brendan Kinzer is he's 35. Definitely a bullpen arm that I wouldn't mind seeing. Julio Terrarium. So he's available at $12 million. Tanner Rock, another middle-aged right-handed pitcher. More. Howie Kendrick is older. Steven Kendrick. Lots of older middle relievers. Cole Calhoun, Wade Mikey, Kyle Gibson. Probably will Michael Pena, a lot of twins available this year. And Garcia, he has to. If the Rays want to stay relevant, they'll have to sign him. Eric Thames will probably sign. Will probably re-sign with the Brewers, especially if he can. If he can go to an NL team, an AL team, he could have a resurgence playing as a DH. And Craig Stimmen will probably stay with the Padres. Corey Dickerson, a little bit older. Not a lot of older guys. Not a lot of guys in their late 20s and in their early 30s and mid 30s. So Todd Frazier should stay as a Met. Jose Iglesias. We'll probably we'll sign somewhere. Brent Anderson and Encarnacion. I don't know where he'll end up, but he'll be somewhere. Jose Castro or Jason Castro, excuse me. Cameron Maven. He'll be a bench guy for somebody. Homer Bailey will be a bench guy for somebody. Martin Maldonado will be a bench guy from somebody. Brock Holt will be a bench guy from somebody probably. Again, as I scroll down this list and look, it's a lot of probably bench guys. A lot of older guys, especially as we get in here. And so that's Alex Avila is available. Darren O'Day, older guy. Ryan Zimmerman's still available. Andrew Kashner, Charles Astrobo Cabrera is going to be available. Pedro Strop. There's just not. Jason Kipnis is available, huh? Just a lot of just a lot of guys that are just not a lot of guys that are going to be not a lot of big names outside of the top 10, and they're probably going to get signed by their respective teams right now. So there's just not a lot of teams that I would think not a lot of players that I would think you'd want to re-sign. There's not a lot of free agents that are going to be available that you would want to re-sign. So that's that's my idea. That's what I was thinking. That's where I'm at. And that's so that's what I was thinking. Again, there's a lot to be done, a lot to be decided before now and the start of next season. You got to work out, like I said, like we've already talked about. What's his nuts? Tim Tebow is in the Yankees or in the Mets system, and we'll see what he does and where he is. As I wrap this show up for today, I thank y'all for listening. I know this was much later than it normally is, and next week shouldn't be nearly as late. I don't have anything going on next Friday that I know of. Maybe if all works out, there may be no show next week. We'll see what. The Yankees stole a pitching guru. And they're looking at reporting. Okay, Braves are gonna land Bumgarner. That would be an interesting move. So we'll see what happens in the next 6 months to a year. In the next